I'd like to introduce to you Sampo Karjalainen. He started out in Finnish new media companies, and with a partner, he started a little side hobby project called Mobiles Disco. This Mobiles Disco became Habbo. It became a company called Sulake, and he is now the Chief Creative Officer of Sulake. Habbo is a huge success, 7.1 million unique visitors per month, and he's going to talk to you about this project. Please help me welcome Sampo.
Thank you. Hello everyone. I come from the cold Helsinki, so I will be coughing a bit, so I hope you can stand it, but I'll try to do my best. So I will be talking about the open-ended play in Habbo. Habbo is a virtual hangout for teenagers online. Most of the users call it a game, but strictly speaking, it isn't really a game. It's more like an open environment where you can do all kinds of things. Usually you require that the game must have some predefined explicit goals so that it can be called a game. So Habbo is more like an open environment, a bit like Second Life that many of you probably know. But it's browser-based, meaning it's a bit more accessible. It's not in 3D, and it's for teenagers. Habbo has become quite popular. There are over 7 million unique users in all of the localized Habbo hotels every month. The median age is 14. We designed it for 13 to 16 years old. And the youngest users are in Nordic countries and in Netherlands, and the oldest users can be found from countries like Japan and Brazil. The gender distribution is very close to 50-50. There are 51% of girls and 49 boys, to be exact. So what is it like? Well, the main thing in Habbo is the Habbo hotel, the virtual environment. So every user who comes to Habbo, they first create their character, a Habbo, by combining different hairstyles, faces, and skin colors, and clothing, and so on. And then they use these characters to access the different rooms of Habbo. So they just click around to move their character, and they can just type it to chat with other avatars. There are all kinds of rooms, cafes, discos, bars, and so on. These are kind of public rooms, like we call them. These are designed by us, and there are places for the Habbos to meet other users and chat, and that's pretty much what many of the users come to do in Habbo, to chat online, to meet their existing friends, to make new friends, and just be together online. There's also a Habbo console where you can collect the friend list and send and receive messages with your friends even when they are not online at the same time. There are also some games inside Habbo Hotel developed by us. There is the swim jump, wobble squabble, paddle ball, and a snowstorm game. And they're kind of traditional multiplayer games where you play individually or in teams and compete against other players. Some of the users are really into this. They come to compete and they like to compete and get a good high score and ranking and so on. But most of the users, they like to try them and they play for some hours or days. But what is it really that makes many of the users come back week after week, month after month, even year after year to Habbo Hotel? I think that the most interesting stuff can be found from the users' own rooms. So every user can create their own room using the Room-O-Matic, give a name to their room, select the layout, the scale of the room, and then start furnishing the room. There is an online catalog where you can find all kinds of virtual furniture brands to decorate your room. Users buy Habbo credits with real money, and with those credits they can buy virtual items. So you can customize the wallpaper of your room, the floor, buy all kinds of decorative and functional items for your room. There are also things like pets and rare items. So what do? They kind of express themselves. They create rooms that reflect their personality. There is someone who's into bunnies and Easter, I guess. This one's is a police office. They are dressed in blue. and there are like office spaces and so on. This is some type of an activity room with different areas that they hang around and do things together. Winter room. Some of the users are really into collecting these items. They collect them and some of them store them in their warehouse rooms so that the value of the items goes up, because we sell some of the items as rares for only a certain period of time, and after that the value of those items goes up. And for some users, this whole trading thing and collecting items is the main goal of the game, so to say, that they try to get lots of valuable items and make good deals with other players. They do it in rooms like these, where this is one of the trading rooms, where the users log in and then they shout things like, I want to trade this rare sofa to a club desk, for example, and type 1, 2, 3, so I know that you're interested and we can negotiate the deal. All kinds of activity rooms, running rooms, teleport races. These are actually teleports, these cabins, and so that some of the running takes place in multiple rooms, that you kind of go to one teleport and appear in another one, and you need to go through the track as quickly as possible. Labyrinths, quests set up by the users with storylines in their rooms. There's a camera, you can take black and white photos in Habbo, and this kind of a photo gallery set up by some user with lots of Polaroid type of photos on the walls. I think these are kissing booths. You can go there and virtually kiss. Some more gaming rooms. Armies, gangs, mafias exist in Habbo Hotel with specific rank systems and that type of things. This is one of the games set up by some very simple game where one of the players defines a theme and everyone needs to change their clothing as quickly as possible to match the theme. So here it has been snowman, and it changes to Santa Claus, reindeer, bad guy, I guess. Here is another animated example of someone's own room. So there's the arrow is pointing the owner of the room who's running the show, and the other contestants are sitting on the pillows, going through the fireplaces, I guess, and the other ones are queuing in. And they usually explain the rules of the games on these kind of sticky notes on the walls. Bingos, lotteries are popular. They use an item, kind of electronic dice, to randomize some of the results. All kinds of contests, like singing contests, poetry contests, beauty contests. This one's an ugliness contest, who has the ugliest Habbo. And this is actually a virtual horse stable, although it doesn't really look like that. So that some of the users dress up in all brown or black or white, and they're the horses, and then the other ones take care of them. And they kind of type in chat what they are doing, that I'm brushing you and you're, well, they kind of role play it. It's pretty strange. We don't really offer any items to support this type of activity, but they do it. Another similar thing is adoption houses in Habbo. There are like rooms where you can get adopted by another user, and then they play like a mother and a child and a home for a while, and it's pretty strange, but it's quite popular. And the activities kind of also expand outside Habbo, that the traders, they go to online auctions like eBay to trade their items. They also trade on schoolyards with their friends, virtual items. And some of the users, they set up websites, kind of fan sites or community sites together, where they write articles about what's going on in the hotel. And some of them are more generic, and some get really specific to support, for example, the values of the items, or some of the user-created games inside their room. Here's a Habbo football league, where they explain the teams and the rules and the stadiums and the management, how do they play it. They kind of support their in-world activities. And we have kind of realized that we should support this, so we just recently launched Habbo Home so that every user can make their own web page really easily and show what they have in the environment. And they can use all kinds of graphical elements to make them more lively. Here are some examples. Okay, so why do they do this? I think one thing is that many of the users who create cool things inside the environment, they get a lot of attention and fame. That's a big thing. But I think the bigger thing behind the whole thing is that they just love to play like kids do. Although our users are not kids anymore, they are teenagers, but online in an environment like this, they can still play together. And of course, it's not a very cool thing to say that as a teenager that you play together with other guys. And we can't really use it in our marketing or as a unique selling point that hey, if you're bored with your real world sandbox, come and try our digital sandbox with cool features. No, it doesn't work like that. But they still love to do it when they go online. And even adults love this type of activity. Because in the early days, for example, in the Finnish version of Habbo Hotel, there were quite a lot of older people. And in the Finnish version, there was actually this one playful dating show run by a creative director of a Finnish mobile gaming company. And he ran it for weeks and months, and it was actually the most popular room of the Habbo Hotel for a long time. This company went bankrupt, but I don't know if it was related to this fact, but he was really into running that game show. So the open-ended play that the users do is very preferable because it creates a lot of interesting content for the users. It's kind of a source of new stuff for the users every hour, every day. If we had to develop content for the users at that pace, it would be impossible. So when we started, we kind of had the strategy that we want to provide the tools and let the users create things, but we didn't expect these exact things, horse stables or things like that. So, like, for us, it's kind of an interesting question that how can we really design to support this type of play? What is needed to support it? And I will try to outline some practical ideas on how to foster this type of open-ended play. So this mainly thought from a kind of service developer's point of view or game developer's point of view. I have 5 points and a bonus point. So first you need something to play with. That's quite self-evident, but you need some type of objects or dynamic environment or an interactive system that the users can play with. You don't necessarily need huge amounts of items. It's more important that they can be combined in various ways. For example, the avatar creation in many of the MMOG games or Nintendo Wii is a good example where you can combine different noses and eyes and so on to create your own character. And that character is very human and valuable content for the user, and when it travels to other consoles, it's interesting content for others too. Other examples are Legos, or you can even look at chat, text, words, and letters as building blocks for all kinds of play. The second thing is intuitive interaction. I mean easy, rich, real-time interaction. That if you enable so that the users can move and rotate and transform and color and stack things to edit them in various ways, it kind of supports the play much better than a very simple interaction that you usually have in the browser environment. And try to keep the user interface very invisible, because all kinds of dialogues and user interfaces, they tend to be on way when you're focusing on the play. It kind of can cut the flow of play if if it's too complicated, and it's difficult to learn. Third point is to set up a mood for play. Because in our contemporary world, there are lots of situations where you can't be really that playful. You can't be playful at the airport security check. So you need to set up the environment so that you can be playful and encourage it. Make it so that no one is going to laugh if you create something stupid or funny. And kind of try to minimize the kind of utilitarian and for-profit thinking. We should celebrate just the fun of doing instead of building systems that are utilitarian. And then the fourth point, to foster all kind of user-created goals. Traditional games tend to have just like one-dimensional goals where you're supposed to reach a certain target and you may be able to do it in a number of ways. But it's much more interesting if the users can select if they want to create the biggest thing or the smallest thing or the most artistic thing or most beautiful thing. And there's a much wider range of things that can emerge. High scores and rankings tend to make things very one-dimensional. And fifth point, you can still define and test some use cases, likely use cases, that when you design for a play, you're kind of expecting that people come up with all kinds of things that you're not prepared for, but still you need to have some idea of things that you expect to see as an outcome, and you can test those, and kind of recurring patterns as well. And the bonus multiplier for this whole thing is the shared social setting. That if you build this all into a shared social setting, it becomes much more interesting. Things people create, other people can comment on it. It becomes much more interesting for the creator. They can work on them together. They can remix them, and it's actually quite difficult to build interesting play environments or toys for a single user, but it's much more easier if you do it in a shared social setting. So those were my points. Maybe not the most comprehensive list, but I think there's a lot of potential of bringing this type of open-ended play elements into other type of web services and games and applications. It can be also a very good source of innovation when users start creating all kinds of stuff and expand the scope of gaming and digital entertainment. And we can make the world a bit more playful place. Thank you very much.
We have time for 2 questions. Any questions? Go ahead.
Is it possible to embed your environment in another website like people do with, say, YouTube? So you could have a room in your own website.
Is this mine? Oh, yeah, it's on. We started back in 1999, and our technology is kind of built in the Web 1.0 age, so we didn't prepare for that in the beginning. But nowadays, every room has a URL, so you can link to those rooms from any website. But you can't really have it on your website currently.
On average, how much do the kids spend in the hotel?
There's a big chunk of users who use it for free, and about 10% pay for it, and then they tend to pay pretty much like a movie ticket a month, or like 10 euros or in that range.
Thank you very much, Sampo.
Okay, thank you.